Good afternoon, everybody. So, once the candidature for transplant has been established, the next big question in patient's relatives' mind and is how to go about it, how much time it will take, and how should one proceed for the transplant. That's what we'll try and cover in this briefing. So basically, the total time required for the transplant, once the candidature has been established, is about 1 to 2 weeks. But there is always a pre-preparatory phase that we call it, and it is basically the identification of the potential donor. The time required for the identification of the donor within the family, we call it as a pre-preparatory phase. This will be usually at the point of referral only. Now, how to identify a potential donor? This is one slide. Obviously, the donor has to be completely healthy, which will be evaluated by a medical evaluation process. He should be of the same blood group or of O blood group for a compatible blood group compatible liver transplant. And the age should be within 18 to 50 years. And obviously, it should be a family member or relative of the recipient. Now, few terms requires further clarification here. First is the family member or relative. So, a family member can be a near or far relative. The near relative can be first degree, and in the first degree, the accepted ones are the parents, daughter, son, brother, sister, spouse, grandparents, or grandchildren. Then the far relative can be second degree or third degree. The second degree accepted relatives are the cousins, nephew, niece, uncle, and aunt. The third degree, of course, is a distant relative or unrelated, can be brother-in-law, sister-in-law, or so on. Usually the flow should go from first degree, second degree, and third degree. So first, if a potential first degree relative is there, we should prefer a first degree one, and then second and a third degree. The second thing is how to medically evaluate the donor. Usually we prefer evaluating the donor at our center, but basic evaluation, that is phase 1, which will be coming in the next slides, can be conducted at the point of referral, so that it can save time in cases, some certain cases. However, complete evaluation takes about 2 days at our center. However, we can fast track it within few hours in cases of emergency situations like ALF and SELF. So, preparatory phase. So when the patient comes to us with a potential donor, 3 processes go simultaneously. One is the patient's workup or stabilization, which is done on an inpatient basis. The donor evaluation we usually conduct on outpatient basis. And third is the legal preparation, which is the legal documentation and required for the ethical committee. These all 3 processes go simultaneously, and usually these are completed within 2-3 days time. So patient workup, as I have told, 2-3 days time on an IPD basis. Day 1 is reserved for blood test, day 2 for radiological and fitness evaluation, and in day 3 we do all the clearances and specialty opinions as required. Donor evaluation also takes about 2 days time, usually conducted on OPD basis, and it is done under 3 phases. We do it under 3 phases because because of it has a more of logistic concern rather than scientific.
For that, which has been kept in the files of us.
Yeah.
You can carry it with you. All this performa of the donor evaluation
they're in the form.
Phase-wise has been mentioned.
Exactly. So phase 1 includes all the blood tests. If the patient's blood tests are all normal, then we proceed with the phase 2, which usually is a CT angiographic study, which is very prudent for us from the surgical perspective. And if the CT is okay, then we go for the fitness kind of evaluation or cardiac evaluation or gynae clearances. The legal preparation, usually the transplant coordinator prepares the legal file. There are few documents which are required from the patient side, the list of which is handed over to the patient's relatives. Psychiatric evaluation of the donor is done, and HLA compatibility of patient and donor wherever necessary.
What do you mean by wherever necessary?
In related cases, sir, only.
HLA में actually clause ये है अभी कि if the documents are complete, then you don't need it.
If
so documents में specific requirements हैं, do ID card, नाम, जैसे father son है, नाम होना चाहिए, ration card में
बिल्कुल.
If documents are
Actually, compatibility is more of a legal thing rather than
medical.
That's my
Exactly.
why asking this question.
Exactly, sir.
That wherever you are in doubt, and the relationship may not be genuine, right? And that's where you get.
And unlike kidney transplant, where HLA is for all patients. We don't require HLA for medical purpose.
But nowadays we are, because for legal purpose, we also started doing DNA instead of HLA, because sometimes when in doubt, yeah.
But even the doctor gets suspicious that there is something hanky-panky.
Exactly.
This take care of the legal part for acute liver failure is, I think the documentations are required from some of the documentations are required from the local authorities also. And it may take even weeks for
In a real emergency, there are always options are available, but then you have to promise, or the family has to promise that they will produce the documents later.
And how you proceed? You proceed for the legal preparations in an acute liver.
No, we take affidavits from them,
Okay.
and then put the file in committee. Committee is cleared on the basis that they will provide the documentation.
And, usually in cases of ALF kind of thing, usually the donor is a near relative. It's a very great one. कोई दूसरा नहीं आएगा.
बड़े कम होते हैं. They are not available.
Available.
But sir, practically होता क्या है? ALF में you end up transplanting only first degree.
First degree relatives. So it usually is not a problem.
First degree. You cannot get that.
That's what he's saying.
That's what I'm asking. Is this legal part essential? Even if you have a first degree relative, we have seen patients who come with a request कि किसी तरह से हमारा ये जल्दी से करवा दो यहाँ की local authorities. आप local
ALF में
authorities.
जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. ALF में अगर near relative है, first degree है, तो then mostly you can do it without. दो papers
Affidavit दिलवा
हो जाता है.
But अगर second degree, third degree है तो नहीं होगा.
कोई दिक्कत नहीं. So the documents for legal file are can be categorized into different categories. First is the identity and the residence proof of patient, donor, and the next of kin of donor who is going to give the consent. Second is the relationship proof between the recipient and the donor. Third kind of a document is the consent of the next of kin of donor. Other document is a verification certificate of Form 20, and obviously few 15 passport size photographs of the patient. Now the documents which are accepted as the identity and residence proof are the ration card, voter card, passport, driving license, PAN card, Aadhaar card, bank account, passbooks and all. The committee...
Time is coming, then Aadhaar card will become
exactly the standard. The committee requires 2 of the documents for verification. Relationship proof, again it can be relevant birth certificate or marriage certificate or certificate from Tehsildar, SDM, magistrate or Sarpanch, or other documents like voter card, Aadhaar card, passport, in whatever ways the relationship can be proved. And family, or if there are no other documents, some long family photographs, or which can verify the relationship between the donor and the recipient.
Photoshop करके ये रिकॉर्डिंग है.
The other affidavit is a consent of the next of kin. The person who can be next of kin can be a mother, father, son, daughter, brother, sister, husband, wife, or a guardian who is going to give the consent that the donor is free to donate. This consent form has to be attested by notary public on a ₹10 stamp paper along with photograph. So verification certificate or Form 20, it is available on the Noto's website, and usually it states the domicile status of patient and donor. It's not usually required. It's only required if the donor is not in the state, means donor is a distant relative and is not residing in Delhi or not residing in the state in which the transplant is being conducted. So then only this verification certificate is required. This is one. It can be downloaded from Noto's website. So within these 2 to 3 days, we complete the complete medical evaluation. Patient's file is prepared, legal file, and the committee is notified. All the file is submitted.
Usually a transplant coordinator is available at every center to do all this job.
So then once the file is submitted, then starts the waiting period, which can be usually 5 to 7 days. It is a time between the submission of file till the committee is done and we get the approval letter. After we get the approval letter till transplant, it takes about 1 to 5 days. So as I told in the previous slides, the transplant is conducted as early as possible once we get the approval based on patient's clinical condition and OT listing. But there are certain special circumstances like ALF and SELF where we can complete the medical evaluation within few hours. An emergency ethical committee can be organized. The transplant can be done within 1 or 2 days. In case of SELF, we follow the same protocol and we do the transplant in the best possible medical window. The biggest question of relatives is what about stay during all this process? So we have guest house facilities inside the hospital and outside as well, where we can avail the facility within 1500 to 300 rupees per day. However, if the patient is very sick, he might have to stay in the hospital for stabilization or maintenance as well. So to summarize, identification of compatible donor is of prime concern. Normal time taken for transplant processes once donor is identified is about 1 to 2 weeks. This time can be reduced in cases of emergencies. Hospital offers guest house facilities within the campus as well. And in addition, there are options for renting flats available in vicinity affordable costs. Thank you. The package for Indian patients is about 19 lakhs. 19
lakhs. It includes all the preoperative workup for patient and donor.
Actually, the package will be 17.
Yes.
Yeah. Workup mein workup.
So our package will be 17, including the workup language, all inclusive. No extra.
Suppose one of the first donor is.
That is not included. Only one donor is
Second,
covered.
you have to pay. On an average, the donor evaluation takes 60 to 70,000 rupees. HLA के लगते हैं 40,000 extra.
How many days you keep the patient and donor?
Patient's package is around 21 days and donor package is around 8 to 10 days.
Who comprises the ethical committee? 2 लोग posted होते हैं from Delhi government. One from DGHS.
देखिए एथिकल कमेटी ना 2 तरह की होती है, एक हॉस्पिटल बेस्ड होती है दोनों हॉस्पिटल बेस्ड, एक इंटरनल कमेटी होती है, एक एक्सटर्नल कमेटी होती है। जो नियर रिलेटिव्स हैं और नेशनल्स हैं, इंडियन नेशनल्स हैं, नियर रिलेटिव्स हैं, उनके लिए हॉस्पिटल के ही लोग होते हैं बस। जो फॉरेन नेशनल्स हैं और अदर देन नियर रिलेटिव्स, उसके लिए एक्सटर्नल कमेटी आती है। एक्सटर्नल कमेटी सिट्स एवरी वीक in our hospital. I think Tuesday
and Friday actually.
Tuesday and Friday, whichever day we ask for. Every week they sit here और उसमें डिस्ट्रिक्ट मजिस्ट्रेट और ये इस लेवल के लोग आते हैं। We need a committee which is hospital committee, internal committee. They don't come from outside then.
What do you mean by near relative?
No, first degree.
First degree.
First degree.
So, thank you.